You're listening to The Picture Show, a Mach 5 Network podcast. And here are your hosts, Jason Zimmerman and Jacob Lee.
Hey, what's up, fellow movie lovers? Welcome to The Picture Show in theaters now, where each week we review a new movie that came out in theaters last week. Let us know your thoughts on the movie via social media at Mach 5 Network on Facebook or Twitter, or email mach5network@gmail.com to get in on the conversation. I'm Jason Zimmerman, and I am joined every week by Jacob Lee. What is up?
Just like Vietnamese Jesus, I'm all up in my swagoo and ready to review this movie.
Oh, yeah. I like it. We're ready to do this.
Before we start, I want everyone to remember that here on The Picture Show, we discuss movies as if you, our friends, have seen it with us. Therefore, if you're a person that cares about spoilers, but you still want to listen to the show, just put it on your playlist and come back and listen to it once you've seen the film. If you don't care about spoilers or you've already seen it, welcome. Welcome. At the end of every review, we give this movie our Picture Show awards, we decide who the movie's MVP was, and we give it our grade. So, Jason, take it away.
All right, yes, this week in theaters now, we saw 22 Jump Street. Officers Schmidt and Janko, Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum go deep undercover at a local college. But when Janko meets a kindred spirit on the football team and Schmidt infiltrates the bohemian art major scene, they begin to question their partnerships. Starring Channing Tatum, Jonah Hill, Ice Cube. Screenplay by Michael Bacall, Oren Uziel, Rodney Rotham, directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Yes, this is 22 Jump Street.
Ladies, nobody cared about the Jump Street reboot, but you got lucky. So now this department has invested a lot of money to make sure Jump Street keeps going. The only problem is the Koreans bought the church back, so we're moving you across the road to 22 Jump Street.
You two sons of bitches are going to college.
All right, 22 Jump Street in theaters now. The follow-up to the surprise comedy hit 21 Jump Street in a movie that is even probably more self-referential than the first movie and really calls out the fact that nobody expected the first one to do anything. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to do the same thing over again, but only with a bigger budget this time.
Actually, I went and actually looked at what the budget for this film was.
Yes?
$5 million more. That's all it was.
Oh, really?
It went from $45 to $50 million.
Well, maybe that's why they probably were running out of money.
Well, they were referencing that. I don't think they actually were running out of money because they went through some pretty crazy explosions there.
Yes,
towards the end of the film. But yes, this movie was bigger, funnier, and more awesomer than the first 21 Jump Street, in my opinion. The performances were better. Everything across the board, even to the minor characters in this film, which, for the first film, Rob Riggle, Dave Franco, Brie Larson, they were all kind of ho-hum, in my opinion. Good. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. But not necessarily memorable. In this film, they made Dave Franco and Rob Riggle's character more memorable.
They did.
The girlfriends were more memorable, or the boyfriends in the case of Janko and his kindred,
his new bromance,
his dude bro.
Right.
Not just his bromance, but his dude bromance.
Right.
It was a little more memorable. And the Mercedes, one of the main villains in the movie, far more memorable as well.
Yeah, she was.
Amazing breakout performance from that girl. And Ice Cube had more to do in this movie, which is always good. It's always good.
ですthat is always good because he was really good in the first one and really funny in this one too. Now, one of the things about this movie that I felt like with the different characters were, in the first one, you had what you thought was the clear villain with Dave Franco's character as the drug dealer. In 22 Jump Street, it seemed like there was no central villain, central bad guy that they were going after through the movie. It was like they were just constantly trying to figure out who it was through the whole thing. So I felt like it was lacking the clear antagonist throughout the movie. And that was the one thing that felt awkward to me compared to the first one.
Oh, see, I actually really liked that because throughout the entire film, like I was trying to figure it out. And the cool thing about it was I was like one step ahead of the movie in a lot of circumstances, you know? Like when they were looking for the tattoo, that unique tattoo.
Right.
And they were like, "Oh, I know exactly who that is." I initially I'm like, "It's not him. It's his dude bro." I knew it that moment, right? Because you never saw the dude bro saying he was wearing football sleeves, but everyone was targeting the other kid. I was like, "It's him." And so instead of dragging that out for the entire film into making him like this big bad guy, they didn't do that, which I thought was refreshing. What they did was they're like, "Okay, we're going to show it to you 5 minutes after because we know you probably figured it out by now." Then we're going to go on a completely different journey with it. And
yeah, it did take multiple journeys.
And I liked that. And I knew from based upon the first movie, just like the first movie, because they're quote unquote doing the same thing, that the bad guys that they run into at the beginning of the movie are going to make an appearance at the end of the movie.
And they did. And I was hoping that part of me was thinking, I hope they don't, just because then it really does start to feel like the same movie, but of course it did. Of course it did.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get Peter Stormare, picture show favorite, in a film and not expect to use him for more than 5 minutes in the movie.
Right. Yeah, this is true.
But I thought what they did with him was really smart. Like at the beginning, that whole scene, you know, it's juvenile, racist, sure, but the whole scene with Jonah Hill acting like a Mexican gangster was hilarious. And the thing that made it even better was not just his lines, but when he turns over to Channing Tatum and he's like, "My name is Jeff." He's like, "But there's Dora and Swiper." And the guys are like, "Swiper?" And that scene was so funny. It was so much more funny than their bicycle cop scene. And they like bust that drug deal and they just start shooting their guns in the air from the first film. It was so much better than that. And it was crazy and over the top. And the action on the runaway semi-truck was crazy.
And over the top.
But it sets you up for that early in the film so that the last act of the film didn't seem so out of place.
That's a good point. And it did do that. It
didn't make that transition into that last like ultra-violent act really jarring like it was in the first film.
That's true.
And then what's his name? Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman. Had more lines in this movie, and that's always good.
Yes, always.
And that line that he had where he's like, "I'm getting a divorce," like, and he's like, "I don't think you're talking about this anymore." And he just drops that bomb, so subtle but so smart. And then of course they get to Ice Cube, and they do the same joke again, except this time it's not Korean Jesus, it's Vietnamese Jesus.
Yes.
And did you notice, Jason, what the name of that church was?
Yes, it was. I did, and I got the acronym at the time.
It was PHUK space SINH. And I'll let you figure that one out for yourself. That was totally it was off in the corner, and I was looking at it because I was trying to figure out if it was another Korean church, and I saw that, and I just started cracking up because I bet half the rowdy kids in the theater didn't even notice that joke there. And it kind of makes me want to go back and watch the movie again to see like what else like weird things that I didn't notice, you know, in different areas of the film.
And that's something that I did like about 22 Jump Street and even 21 Jump Street. They slipped little things like that in there that if you're paying attention, that's just another little layer of comedy that's pretty funny and that you didn't expect coming.
Yeah. So Channing Tatum, better,
yes,
in your opinion, than the first film, or about the same?
I think Channing Tatum was really good in this one too. Really good. I think he just wasn't. I think the lines he was given weren't quite to the level of the first one, where he couldn't just come off sneaky funny, where the words just came out of his mouth and just cracked you up. He was funny. He was good. He still continues to impress me as an actor and a comedic actor, but I think I preferred him more in the first one than the second one.
I thought he had more emotional depth in this. So the dramatic,
True.
the dramatic scenes in this film were designed to be funny too.
Right.
With the drama between him and Jonah. But it was the acting range and the emotional depth was greater in this film. And so for that, I would say he was much better. But you're right. They didn't give him as funny of lines in this film as they did in the first one. And that was just basically, I think, because of the character arc his character was taking in this film. He wasn't the dumb guy. He was the cool guy again. So he didn't get an opportunity to be as funny. Because being the cool guy isn't all that funny, you know?
That's true. And the scenes, though, with him and his dude bromance, I felt like those started to get a little bit long for me and just a little bit too much. And I was kind of like, okay, I get it. I'm done with it now. And those started to get a little much for me.
I can see that. I didn't mind them because even though there were a lot of them, they were so short. And to me, the punchline at the end of all of them was Jonah Hill's reaction.
Yeah, which was always funny.
Oh, Jonah Hill, in my opinion, was better in this film.
I would agree with
that. Because of that reverse, right? He was the jilted one in this film, and that's what made it funny. So he was given more stuff to do to shine. Like when he's taking the walk of shame.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
That was hilarious. So and he's just looking so self-righteous, like walking down the thing. And then they do it again, and he knows the other girls that are doing the walk. Right.
Yep.
That was so funny. Like, it was great. And then when he's like got the cameras like monitoring what Channing's doing with his dude bro, and he texts him, he's like, "You there?" And he's like busy, and he sees that he's clearly like not he starts crying, and that type of stuff is what makes the film really funny, and it put Jonah Hill's character in a bit of a sticky situation with Ice Cube.
Yes, it did. How great though was the moment where Ice Cube discovers that the guy that he high fives Jonah Hill for sleeping with turns out to be his daughter. So good.
It was incredible. Like,
did you expect it to be her, in any way, shape, or form, that it would be his daughter?
I kind of did, because as I was watching it, I was at first thinking maybe the girl who passed away or was killed or whatever it was, OD'd on drugs. At first I thought maybe that was Ice Cube's daughter, or Ice Cube's daughter had some type of connection to that girl. Mm-hmm. That was my initial thought. But as soon as it was revealed, I was kind of like, yeah, I saw that coming. But it was so subtle that it wasn't like, duh. It kind of underplayed it until it got to that point.
It did, because when the reveal happened, I thought, why did I not pick up on that? That should have been so obvious to see coming, but they slipped it on me, and I didn't see it coming until then when they reveal, oh, it's his daughter. I was like, oh, I should have known.
Yeah, because it's totally a movie trope, right?
Exactly.
Like, totally a movie trope. But I think the movie had so many things going for it that, as soon as they are done sleeping together and they wake up in the next morning, right? You have that hilarious scene with Mercedes, her roommate.
Yeah.
And she's just like, "You're so old," like blah blah blah, and you're laughing at that. And then it leads into a bunch of other stuff, so that you just kind of forget about it, right? You're thinking at that point, you're like, "Oh, you had a one night stand with a girl, whatever," Yeah. And it pushes it aside so that you forget about it, and then it does the reveal.
That's true. And Mercedes, played by Jillian Bell, just kept stealing the scenes for me. Every line when she makes fun of Jonah Hill for looking old, every single one was hilarious. It's just so funny. So yeah, that would definitely kind of throw you off kilter a little bit when you're trying to figure out what's going on, because then she comes on and you're like, this girl is awesome. She is cracking me up right now.
Her line delivery reminded me so much of Kristen Wiig's line delivery in Knocked Up. Have you seen Knocked Up?
Yes, it's been a while.
So not Kristen Wiig. If you can't remember, Kristen Wiig played like one of the network executives at Katherine Heigl's work, and every time you put her in a scene, she was just so bland in her delivery of everything, like so straight and emotionless at it all. She's like, you should just lose a little bit of weight. Why'd you lie to us? Why did you do that? Why'd you like just that really fast, that same type of delivery. Jillian Bell did it here and almost did it better.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Really good.
And yeah, so that reveal was hilarious. The random Queen Latifah like cameo
as his wife, as Ice Cube's wife.
That cracked me up too.
Yeah.
And
that was good.
The Ice Cube meltdown was epic.
Yes, Ice Cube melting down in the restaurant. So good.
You could just like the greatest thing about that scene is like you didn't have to say anything in that scene. You could have just looked at the table and laughed, like because everyone else is just kind of awkwardly smiling at each other, and Ice Cube just like got that "I'm gonna kill you, Doug" like look on his face.
Right.
And then when he goes over and gets the food, it was so fun. He kicks over the plant.
Yes.
Like, oh man, like at first he gives him like 3 green beans or 3 sticks of asparagus, and he's like, "What the hell? Like, you think I don't like this? You think I don't like fruit?" Like, and he's just saying the most random stuff, but that meltdown was epic and awesome.
It really was. Yeah, Ice Cube has been so good in both of these movies. He just because he's so angry and just so funny at being so angry.
Well, and the best thing, too, was he was angry at the beginning of this movie, but he wasn't as angry, right? Like, in the last movie, he would have never fist bumped Jonah Hill.
Right.
Like,
That's true.
It wouldn't have happened. In this film, they were like, it's the softer side of Ice Cube.
Yeah.
And then they pulled that under the rug, and it's like, nope, let's flip the script and put it, put angry Ice Cube back into it. That was great. That was great.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And then, where do we go from there? I thought the football storyline was kind of interesting. It was kind of neat. Like, it was different from the first one. So the first one, we got to see all the weird, like, hipster indie kids doing their thing. And in this film, we got to see Channing Tatum really exceed at something.
Exactly. And you have this sort of what if moment with him. What if I didn't go to the police academy and I had gone to college and played football and that sort of thing and could have been a professional football player or something? You almost feel like, wow, he's caught in this weird rock and a hard place of I want to be a cop, but I could be a football player too.
Right. And it felt real, right? It felt like
it did.
It felt like this guy could have actually quit school or left the police academy and gone back to school because he never went to college in the first place and actually played football.
Yep.
And that was pretty cool. And then, oh man, that scene where they're in the psychology professor, the therapist's office, and he's sitting there, and they're like doing that thing. They showed some of it in the trailer, and I thought that's what this movie did very good with marketing. Like, it showed you a little bit in the trailers, but it didn't completely destroy the jokes because the scenes were so much longer.
Yeah.
And so it didn't feel like it ruined the joke. Like, they did the little, like, hand-holding thing, right? The interlocking fingers in the trailer. But the scene where he's like, well, maybe you can embed on something. And then Channing and Jonah just look at him and goes, no, shut the up. And, like, he goes, get out. And so he kicked the guy out of his own office.
Right. And there were a lot of little funny moments with those two where they played the sort of, relationship jokes of there were boyfriend girlfriend jokes, and they're, those type of humor was really good in there in all of those different scenes with them.
Yeah. I mean, the chemistry between the two of them is undeniable. That they just have really, really great on-screen chemistry. And that was just amazing. Like, to see it continue on in this film was just great. And then I thought the climax of this film was much better than the first film.
I would agree with that, definitely.
I think too, because they set up a lot of things for the climax. Like they set up him and Jonah needing to split up. They set up the Jonah wanting to take a bullet for Channing this time.
Right.
They set up the Lamborghini.
Yeah. Which turned out really funny.
They set up the Jonah Hill like makes the jump onto the helicopter thing, and the grenade in his pants by his balls thing.
Right.
Like they set up like 8 jokes, and then they're like, okay, we're not going to tell you that these are going to be jokes later on, but when they do hit, they were all set up.
Exactly. And even though some of them things were over the top, they played off of each other really well to the point where it all kind of worked. As over the top as the helicopter scene was, I was able to watch it and laugh. I saw parts of it in the trailer, and in the second trailer, I think it was, that came out, and I thought, this is awful. But it was actually pretty funny all together in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely over the top. I mean, Jonah Hill being able to hold on to Channing Tatum while holding on to the...
No, that could never happen.
It could never happen. But in this world, I think because they... Like, when Jonah Hill gets smacked in the face by that railing at the beginning, his head would be gone.
Right.
But they set it up so that it was like, yeah, people can survive stuff like this in this universe.
Yeah.
Not like the last one where it was so subtle, right? Like, shooting a gun in the air in the park does not equate creating bombs that flip limos and stuff like at the end of the first film.
Yeah. Right.
But I thought it just delivered on so many fronts. And I thought it was smart too, like with the Mercedes turning out to be the bad guy. Because it was kind of set up, but you didn't really see it coming, you know?
Right.
Until much later in the film. You just thought that she was this bitchy roommate, right?
Right.
And so that when she becomes the bad guy, you almost are like satisfied with that because you're like, okay, good. Now she's given more to do than just that.
Right. Then just drop one-liners on Jonah Hill's age.
Right. And being old and wrinkly.
Right.
And yeah, and then I just thought it just delivered. And then like taking Ice Cube hostage instead of his daughter.
Right.
Like that was funny to me because I was totally expecting, I'm like, yes, they're doing the same thing, but then they didn't.
Then they give it a little twist.
Yeah, just a little twist. Like, I mean, how funny is it to think that Ice Cube's getting taken hostage by a college girl?
Right. Exactly.
That's pretty hilarious.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, just everything in this film was just so much. The first film was good. This one was just better, in my opinion.
I got to give shout outs to the other 21 Jump Street cameos in this one from the TV show. We had Dustin Nguyen as Vietnamese Jesus. He was only in it slightly as Vietnamese Jesus where you actually saw him.
Oh, like in the tripping scene, that was him?
Yeah.
Oh, that is hilarious. I didn't even know that because I never watched the original 21 Jump Street.
Yeah, and then we had Richard Grieco bring his character Booker back, which was pretty awesome too. So they brought back pretty much all the characters other than the captain in cameos, which was pretty sweet.
Yeah, how about that end credit scene?
The the end credit scene with the Jump Street sequels actually may have been the funniest part of the movie, in my opinion. I could not stop laughing at all of those.
I thought they were funny. I didn't think they were the funniest part of the movie, but I thought it was like one of the better credit scrolling scenes. Like, because it wasn't like end credits. There was actually another scene at the very end of the credits as well, which was bizarre and weird.
It was bizarre and weird, yes.
But all the sequels to me, as I was watching it, I was almost confused because I'm like, I would like another sequel to this. I don't know what they would do, right? But I would like another sequel to this film.
Yeah.
But they kind of just shoved all that away.
Yeah. They kind of set it up where you think at one point there's going to be a 23 Jump Street when they make fun of, oh, I bet next year we'll be across the street at that building next door.
Right.
But then when they kind of blew it up at the end with that credits scene, I think that was their way of saying, no, we're not going to do another one. Because what would you do other than do the same thing again?
Yeah, I really don't know. What was the first one? What was 23 Jump Street in the end credit scene? Was it culinary school?
No, I thought that was later.
Art school?
It might have been. I don't remember.
I can't remember what 23 Jump Street was, but like the first couple were like art school, culinary school, like school in Russia.
Right.
Flight school.
Oh,
like
was it medical school? I think
yes,
it was
medical school. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Those two in medical school really wouldn't be that funny, in my opinion. Not for a whole movie.
No.
And then they started getting off the rails with the toy ideas and the cartoons.
Right.
And the 21 Jump Street.
Right.
And the return of Booker. And the return of Ghost. Or 21 Jump Street Generations.
Yes.
Jump Street Generations, that's what it was.
Yes.
I mean, all the different ideas were so funny, but none of them could work in an actual movie.
No, but just they were so off the wall that they were hilarious.
Yeah. So, I mean, would I be satisfied at the end of the series here? Absolutely. But I have a feeling that even though they did that, they're going to make another movie because of how well this movie's doing at the box office.
It's hard to... I think they have to be tempted at this point, but... And who knows? People may go see it just because these two did so well, but you have to ask yourself and the writers, what else could you do different next time? I don't know.
My only thought is like they go back to high school.
Yeah, and they really look old.
Yeah, like they go back to high school and they literally do the same thing from the first movie again.
Yeah.
And
go back to high school and they're teachers this time.
Oh, that would be good. You just came up with the best idea. Like they're not students anymore. They're actually that would be perfect because they set up all these other ones where they're students.
Right.
Let's make it so that they're high school teachers again.
That'd be pretty funny.
Wouldn't that be? And what if they went back to the same high school? Like it's because that movie will have come out 4 years after the first one. Assuming they're on this 2-year cycle, it'll be 4 years after the first one, and you could bring Ellie Kemper back, who was Channing Tatum's teacher in that one, who clearly had the hots for him.
Right.
And you could explore that dynamic, because I love Ellie Kemper. She's hilarious. And, you could do the whole, like, high school. You could bring Jake Johnson back. He's a bigger name now.
Right.
Is the principal. And you could do that whole dynamic.
That would be interesting.
I think it could work.
I might go see that movie.
I'd like that. I totally dig that. You can call it, I don't know, 21 Jump Street back to high school or something like that. Can you imagine Channing Tatum as a high school teacher?
That could be hilarious, actually.
And Jonah Hill as a high school teacher?
Right. And their roles get swapped where Jonah Hill's like teaching phys ed and Channing Tatum's teaching whatever.
Channing Tatum's teaching chemistry.
Right.
And he's having to tell people about a covalent bond.
Right.
That would be epic. You are a genius, my friend. You're a genius.
All right, let me call up Jonah on the hotline and get him on the celly.
Phil Lord and Miller, get them up on the cell phone.
Right.
All right, so I think we're about done talking about the awesomeness that is 22 Jump Street. So Jason, what is your favorite moment in 22 Jump Street?
I have to give my favorite moment in this movie to the fight scene, the epic fight scene between Jonah Hill and Jillian Bell at the end, where she has been revealed as the villain of the movie. He's cornered her, and they're just duking it out. And then they have that awkward moment where they lean in, and it's like, whoa, did you just try to kiss me? And there's that awkward, are they going to kiss each other? Is there chemistry there versus are they going to fight? Plus the fact that she was hilarious in the movie anyway. That scene cracked me up. Loved it.
That scene was epic. And the thing, too, again, with the trailers that I loved about it, was they showed, a good little section of that fight scene in the trailer, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't show the full extent of it. Like, you think that in the trailer, a lot of those trailers ended with Jonah Hill, like, laying out that first mega punch, right?
Yep.
And the fact that they didn't show that after he does that punch, like, he starts, like, his hands hurting, and she just gets right back up, and she's like, what? Like, you little old man, or you got osteoporosis? Like,
right.
Like, and it kept going from there on, and then like when they end up on the bed, she like wraps her legs around him, and it's just like, are we having sex right now? Like, what's going on?
Right. It was so funny.
It was so funny. My favorite moment, that one's very close for me, but my favorite moment in the film is the Ice Cube meltdown.
That was a good
starting
one.
with the scene when they're at the table.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going to cheat here. Starting with the scene where they're at the table and continuing on to when he's back with, I forget his daughter's name. Oh,
yes.
she was gorgeous though. I forget her daughter's name, but like he gets Jonah Hill and her back in the room, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, your dad's so crazy."
Maya.
He's like, "I'm sorry, your dad's so crazy," and this and that, and his phone starts buzzing. He pulls his phone out, and Ice Cube's texting him like, "I'm gonna kill you, Doug."
Right.
And then he's like, and then he like says like a couple of different texts like that. Then he finishes with emojis at the end.
Yes.
It's like skull, knife, stab, death, tombstone.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
and that whole scene was just so well written. But I'm gonna cheat and add a scene onto that because it's kind of the extension of that. And it's the scene where Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum are in Ice Cube's office, and Channing doesn't know yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Ice Cube's just looking at Jonah Hill, and he's got the gun there on the desk, like pointed towards him. And I can't remember because it was kind of loud in the theater, but I can't remember. Did they play like a
Yes.
like they did?
They did. It was like an elevator going up a floor and then dinging when it finally got there, and then he realized what just happened.
And Channing's reaction to that was amazing. And he's doing like the running man around the glass room,
Right.
like humping the glass, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Ice Cube just slowly puts the gun and faces it towards him to end that.
Right.
Epic scene. Epic scenes.
It was a good
It's
scene,
hard to pick a
definitely.
good. There were so many good scenes in this movie. It's hard to pick a favorite.
There were some good ones, yep.
So awards for this film, and remember, on awards for the picture show, we have to both consensually vote for the award for the film to get one of our 7 picture show awards, which are for performances, direction, writing, music, cinematography, set, and effects. And so Jason and I have to come to an agreement on what film gets an award. If only one of us nominates it, the film doesn't get the award. So for this movie, it gets the same awards as 21 Jump Street. The Great Performances Award, of course, with amazing performances, not just from Channing Hill or Channing Hill. They're becoming one.
Yeah, they are one.
Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, but also from the rest of the cast, from Ice Cube to to Jillian Bell and on down. The whole cast was stronger. Even I don't know the actor's name, but Channing's dude bro, and then the other frat boy friend, like when he's like running into the goalpost. So random, but so much more memorable, and so much funnier than like Dave Franco's posse in the first film.
Yeah.
So it gets great performances. It gets, of course, the Great Direction Award. Lord and Miller, they're on fire.
Yes.
Lego
They really
Movie,
are.
21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street. Lord and Miller are on fire right now.
I
And
know.
smart writing and the Great Writing Award. The writing in this movie is so smart. It's so well paced. It's a great film.
Yeah, I wonder what are they gonna do next to top this off besides maybe Lego Movie 2. They gotta do something else.
I know they're producing a couple Lego movies, but they're not directing them.
Oh, they're not.
Yeah. And so I don't know. Hey man, the sky's the limit with them when it comes to comedic directing, you know?
Right.
You know, they
Yep.
would have been a good choice to take on Ant-Man.
Oh, I could see that, definitely.
You know, like when Edgar Wright leaves, like they would have been a really good choice to take on Ant-Man. I wonder why they never were in consideration in that.
It's a good question.
But anywho, so moving on from awards, we also have to nominate our MVPs and pick a picture show movie MVP for 22 Jump Street.
Yes.
Jason, who is your nominee?
I have to nominate Jillian Bell as the MVP of this movie. Her comedic performance, her delivery, her timing with those fantastic zings that she had on Jonah Hill were awesome. She was hilarious. To me, she stole the show, and she was awesome in this movie.
My MVP nominee for the film was none other than Mr. Cube himself, Ice Cube. Just epic scenes with him from top to bottom. I had a really hard time nominating. I just want to throw this out there. I had a really hard time nominating an MVP. it was kind of back and forth between Jonah Hill for his subtle moments, like the walk of shame and the slam poetry thing, and Ice Cube and Jillian Bell. I had a hard time nominating one. I decided to go with the guy who contributed, my couple favorite scenes to this movie with the Vietnamese Jesus, and the meltdown scenes were just so fantastic. So I had to go with Ice Cube because he had more to do in the film than Jillian Bell. But we've duked it out. We've fought it out. And because I had a hard time conflicted, coming up with who was the MVP, I will concede to Jason's nominee. Let's say it's Jillian Bell.
Woohoo! Jillian, come on the show. Receive your award.
This was Jillian Bell's breakout performance. I bet you she's in a ton more movies after this.
I can totally see people wanting to definitely sign her up for a lot of different comedic roles now. They're like, dude, that girl's hilarious. We need her now.
This was like Kristen Wiig in Knocked Up, and also borderline Melissa McCarthy in Bridesmaids. That's how much of a scene stealer she was without being, the main character in the film.
Right. Definitely. Yep.
So grades.
Woohoo!
The big finale for grades of 22 Jump Street.
22 Jump Street. Even though at times I thought it was better than the first one, at times I thought it was good and it was funny. I weighed it. I put all of it together and said, how does this movie sit in the comedy world for me? I actually ended up scoring it the same as 21 Jump Street, a B-.
Boo.
A respectable score, I'll have you know.
Boo.
But for a comedy, I think that's pretty solid. I'm gonna stand by that B-.
Are you genrist? Is that a little bit of genreism I heard there, Jason? For a comedy? For a comedy, that's a good score, Jason?
Yeah.
You're genrist.
I'm genrist?
You're genrist. You are racist against genre, sir.
Whoa.
A comedy could never be as good as a dramatic film.
No. You know what, though? A smart comedy, a Grand Budapest Hotel or a Moonrise Kingdom, I will sit down and watch Moonrise Kingdom right now and give it an A.
All right. Fair enough. I wouldn't, but fair enough. Okay. So there we go. Jason's genreist against mainstream comedies. Just like I'm genreist against indie films, apparently. But not really. My grade for this film is I went back and forth on it, and I decided to give it what I thought it deserved, and that is an A. To me, best comedy of the year thus far. Better than Neighbors. Better than... trying to think what other comedies. Have we seen any other comedies this year?
That's a good question.
A couple weeks ago, A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Definitely better than that. Yep.
Definitely better than that. I'm trying to think of what comedies came out last year. I don't really recall many comedies last year being that great and that mind-blowing. Was The World's End last year?
I think it was last year, actually.
All right, so there's one. But, to me, this is one of the best comedies we've gotten in a couple of years. So I'm going to give it an A because I totally enjoyed it the whole time through. I never felt like it dragged. And I laughed out loud many a times in the theater. So have to give it an A. It accomplished its job.
Good job, 22 Jump Street. All right. Before we sign off, I just thought of one last thing. During the end credit scene, how great when Seth Rogen becomes Jonah Hill during the contract dispute.
That was pretty funny. Like, I was not expecting that. I just looked up and I'm like, Seth Rogen? What?
Right.
And it was kind of funny, too, because Seth Rogen went to seminary school or whatever the hell they called it. Like, Seth Rogen, notably proud Jewish man, goes to, like, Catholic seminary school. Was funny. But what made it even more funny was that, like, they continued on after that and Jonah Hill was back. And they're like, we're like, I'm so glad you're back, buddy. That was funny. Was pretty funny.
Yep.
That was pretty funny.
All right, so that was our In Theaters Now pick, 22 Jump Street. Next week, play along at home, go to the theater and see next week's pick. We're going crazy. For the first time, we're not going to pick a movie that just literally came out. We're going to go back a week to a movie that we didn't see, How to Train Your Dragon 2, because it looks honestly better than anything coming out this week, and it's getting such great acclaim that it's worth the discussion and it's worth the review.
It's so good. I'm not going to preview it too much, but I had to film my reaction to this movie after I had gotten home from the theater after I had seen it last weekend. Let me just say, we're going to play it on the show for you and see just the level of ecstaticness that came out of my voice after seeing this film. So you have
a little bit giddy.
A little bit giddy.
Yes. So next week, How to Train Your Dragon 2. Stay tuned for that. And don't forget, in the Picture Show feed, you can catch our other reviews this week when we talk about Robot and Frank and 21 Jump Street. You can catch our movie news with coming attractions, get all that good stuff. So until next week, stay tuned for another exciting edition of In Theaters Now next week. Take care.
Peace out.
This has been a Mach 5 Network production. Be sure to subscribe to our shows on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Mach 5 Network. Follow us on Twitter at Mach 5 Network and email us at mach5network@gmail.com. Until next week, I'm your announcer, Crown Jules, logging off.